What's happening, guys? Kenny here again, and today I've got another comparison video for you. And what I'm going to be talking about today is obviously this guy. These are both full-size Griptilians, and these are both aftermarket scales, obviously. The one on the top here is from AWT, that's Applied Weapons Technology. And this one here is actually from a seller from Russia. His name's Igor D. I'm gonna put links to both of those people below on Instagram or their site. Either way, I believe Igor is just selling on eBay. I don't believe he has a site, but I'll let you guys know. And then this is AWT, like I said, Applied Weapons Technology. And they're making scales for a bunch of different Benchmade knives. I believe they also make a bug out. They're making a mini freak now. They make a few different options. So making really, really nice products. And from what I hear, they really stand behind them as well. So I'm going to get right into this, guys. I'm going to try and keep this relatively short. I'm sorry about the lighting here. It is natural lighting, and it's pretty nice, but it's also not as bright as it could be. So sorry about that. First things first, I'll talk about this Igor. This is I found these on eBay, and I believe this one was about $90. This is a micarta, and it does have like two different micartas with a G10 spacer in between. You can see that doesn't go all the way through. The quality of these is very nice. This is a pretty true perspective of the color, although I'd say this OD green is a little bit more, it's a little lighter than what you're seeing on the screen right here. But otherwise, I think it's pretty true to the color. This is really, really nicely done, guys. The texturing it is grippy. You can hear that, just that natural micarta grippiness. Some guys don't like this, actually. Elliot, my buddy, you guys know him, Sharp Thinking. He doesn't like this texturing. He would much rather probably have a smooth G10, something like my Case Knives Shard, which has like more of a polished, G10, a polished micarta. This is where you leave it like a rougher grit, and it gives the handle a texturing, which actually, it's not like a texture per se, but more of like just a bit of a tactile feel, as far as like you're gonna get some grip, and it's really nice. And you can also kind of feel the weave of the fabric, and that's what you're feeling essentially with this type of lower grit finish. You're gonna feel the fabric, and I actually really enjoy that. I like the grippiness it gets, and even wet, this is gonna be very easy to handle. I actually really like it like that. Yeah, but that's all a preference thing for sure. As far as the fit of this, when I got it, it fit pretty well. I did have a little bit of trouble getting it on, but that's also because I didn't take the knife completely apart. If you guys know, when you do these access locks, you can kind of take off one scale and then, put the new scale on one side, then flip it over, take the other scale off, and that's how I did this, so I didn't take it all the way apart. So I did have some trouble at one point trying to get this to click in, and I had to like pull the lock bar back and finagle it a little bit, and I did end up getting them on pretty easily. The milling on the inside wasn't like perfect or anything, but that's hard to do with something like Benchmade's, because you're gonna have some serious inconsistencies in these knives as far as like, just tolerances. So they have to be really careful about how they do these aftermarket scales and stuff, if they're not fit specifically for the knife you have. And this one was done pretty well. I did have some issues, but it went on pretty well. And as far as the action's concerned, this is one of the, it had the FRN scales, or Grivery, whatever they call it. And it was super smooth before, kind of like a drop-free action when I released the lock bar. When I put these micarta scales on, it's not as free dropping, but it's pretty damn smooth. I believe I could make it that way, but it would have just a slight bit of play if I did. I'm happy with the action I have. You guys can see it is pretty damn smooth. And with just a little bit of wrist action, you're going to be able to flip it out either way. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do this under the camera here, but I'm very happy with the action after that. This knife did come to me off center, and when I put these scales on, it did not fix that centering, but I believe that's due to an actual bad grind. This blade is ground off centered, if you guys can see that. I don't know if it's gonna come through, but yeah, that is not even. And that's what makes it seem like it's off-centered, because it's really not. If you look at the blade in the knife, it's pretty centered. It's just that grind is pretty awful. You can see it there too. You can see how this side is just ground a little bit higher. Yeah, and this one's a little deeper. Oh yeah, Benchmade, come on. I'm sure that's probably why they stopped doing the hollow grinds, because they couldn't really execute them. But yeah, anyways. These are discontinued full-size Griptilians. These are the hollow ground 154 CMs. Can't really see it there anymore because I did do an acid etch on this before I send it back to Steve. This one is my knife. This one is in fact Steve from Chef Kalari, or Super Steel Steve as you guys know him here on YouTube. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Steve for letting me check this out. I didn't know if I wanted to get some of these AWT scales, so I'm really grateful to him for just sending it my way and letting me check it out. And like I was saying, this is AWT, Applied Weapons Technology. These are done really, really well. And I did talk to Steve about this quite a bit, and when he got these, they didn't fit properly due to the weird tolerances from Benchmade. I think he had some issues with them right away getting them on, but AWT went above and beyond to make sure that it fit properly. He had to send some parts in. They sent him a new one. Like, they went above and beyond to try and fix the issue for him, and that's really nice to see. And just know that if you do buy some AWT scales, you're gonna get the utmost, well, let's just call it, like the proper customer service you should get from these companies. So that's nice to hear. This is absolutely amazing action as far as this one's concerned. Oops, sorry, touched the camera. Super free dropping as soon as you release the lock bar. Zero play side to side, or maybe a little bit up and down, but that's kind of inherent with access locks because they kind of seat a little deeper as it locks up further. So really nice action on this. And I think after I acid etched it, I put it back together. I just unscrewed it and pulled it out. It did all my work, and then just stuck it back in and finagled the washers back where they needed to go and put the pivot in. So I didn't take the whole knife apart, but this seems pretty easy to put together. This backspacer's done very well, as you can see. I believe that he did have some issues with this lining up, but they fixed the problem for him. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. I'm sure you could probably even make it better, but almost perfectly flush. It just is a little bit high right here, but nothing I would be concerned about. As far as the ergonomics of these two handles, and I'll explain why. Steve sent me this one. I went ahead and bought this one after Steve sent me this one, and I'll explain why. For me personally, guys, I do love the build quality of these scales, but Steve's already mentioned this, and he even said it to me, but these hard edges on this aluminum scale are the only thing that is not to desire on these handles. Everything else is amazingly done. They're super comfortable. I really enjoy the shape and everything. I like the way the knife looks with them, but they were a little hard on the edges. I didn't notice this in most use, but when I went to try and push through thicker material, I did notice how hard those edges are, and it did start to bug me a little bit. And then I had my original Griptilian handles on this, and I was trying that at the exact same time as using this, and I actually found that the regular scales, even though that FRN isn't very desirable, the shape of the scales actually fit my hand better and were more comfortable. So I wanted to find something that was the same shape as the original bug out scales, or had the contouring of the original bug out scales, but was just a better material than FRN. And that's when I found these on eBay from, like I said, Igor D. And I really enjoyed them. I think they look great when I got them. You know, they really are nicely made, and they are very comfortable in my hand. I do like micarta, and the knife does feel a little bit lighter than something like this, but just ever so slightly lighter for sure. Let me grab my scale real quick. Again, these should be the same weight because it is the same knife. Let's see. 4 ounces. I can't remember what the original weight was. 4.01 ounces. And this is 4.88. So almost an ounce, you know, maybe like 3/4 of an ounce difference between the two. Not horribly, you know, you're not going to notice that too much, but it's definitely something that you would notice. I definitely notice it in hand, but it's not something in make or break my decision. But yeah, I really just liked the contouring of this handle. I think if they did these, it would be more expensive, but even if they just chamfer the edge a little harder, you know, just gave it a little bit more of a chamfer there, I think that would help it significantly. I think it just loses a little bit of that I love the contouring of that versus just the squareness of these handles. Do love the look, and obviously the build quality as far as, like, you know, the fitment and stuff. You're gonna get a little bit better, you know, just a sturdier knife out of the aluminum than micarta. Micarta definitely flexes and stuff, but still, I just like the ergonomics, and that actually wins for me as far as, like, functionality of the knife. I think the ergonomics of this are just better, personally, so that's why I went with this one. Although I do love both options. I almost just bought one of these as well. I do like it a lot, and I'll probably end up getting a bug out scale for my one of my bug outs, because I do really like their scales, and I like to support a company that stands behind their product as well. I do believe they are an American-made company, made here, and not made, you know, outsourced or anything. So I really like that. And yeah, overall, I think they're both great options. Personally, I went this route because I like the contoured handle. I found it more comfortable, and I do like micarta a lot. One of my favorite materials, as you guys well know. So yeah, I hope this brought you some value, guys. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope this would help you make a decision in the end if you were looking at the two. Yeah, this isn't like a mod video where I talk about my acid stonewash, but I did just put an edge on this, and it's ready to go back to Steve. I might carry it one more day, just for good measure. And that's it, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.